AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Buddy Ray.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Get to Joe's today. Talk about what is new at Joe's. Honda-powered, eco-friendly engines that even allow me to win. Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Man, we got a lot to get to today, so I want to just move right on through it. In turn number one, we'll recap the results from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What a day for some drivers, and man, what a day for other drivers. We'll talk about the field and what was some of the NASCAR
feast
news.
or famine.
Yeah. NASCAR news and notes. A lot of big stories came out this week. We'll get to the Tony Stewart. We'll get to the rule changes in 2015. We'll get to a lot of it in turn number one. In turn number two, Stan Cisar is going to join us in studio. We've got audio from the play-by-play at the Midwest Fall Brawl, so we'll talk to him about that. Turn number three, Anthony Ainslie of the Super Late Model Series will join us to preview the trip down to Lakeside Speedway. And in turn number four, we're going to get joined by Brett Pugh, who has now taken over responsibilities at Shelby County Speedway.
Can't wait to talk to him.
It's going to be some great information, and it's great to see that track moving in a positive direction. Without further ado, do you want to get to news and notes?
Let's just go straight to the news, because everybody's wanting to hear our take on
Wednesday morning. This is what we heard. Actually, it was Wednesday afternoon, courtesy of the DA for the Ontario County Sheriff's Department.
This week, an Ontario County grand jury has been meeting to hear testimony and review evidence gathered in the Tony Stewart matter relating to the death of Kevin Ward at the Canandaigua Motor Speedway on August 9th, 2014. The grand jury has today completed its investigation. During the course of the grand jury presentation, approximately 24 witnesses testified. These included a number of race car drivers, racetrack employees and volunteers, 2 accident reconstructionists, medical personnel, and a number of police officers. In addition, the grand jury reviewed a number of photographs and video recordings, as well as other documentary evidence. After listening to and questioning all of the witnesses and reviewing all of the evidence, the grand jury has determined that there is no basis to charge Tony Stewart with any crimes. His case was therefore no billed by the grand jury.
A reporter then asked about the toxicology report, and this was his response.
There were no reports that were presented. There is toxicology evidence in the case relating to Kevin Ward that actually indicated that at the time of operation he was under the influence of marijuana. There was no toxicology work performed on Tony Stewart. However, a certified drug recognition expert had interviewed him on the night of the collision and determined that he found no basis to observe any alcohol consumption or impairment by drugs.
There you go, folks.
I went through so many emotions on Wednesday. It's hard to talk about. I really, at first, I got so mad because the drug tests came back that there was marijuana in Kevin's system. And my first thought and my gut reaction is, what are you doing stepping into a car under the influence of anything? What are you doing?
I was just getting ready to go into that. I have heard local regional drivers, dirt drivers, that have, been under the influence of marijuana or alcohol. And it's not a widespread thing, but I've heard about it. Mm-hmm. And let's be frank on the show here. You've been to some of these big year-end specials.
Yep.
I'm not saying that we're all driving drunk, but if you're telling me that we're completely sober when we get back in the car after a night of drinking or doing whatever, I might offend some people here, but I say I cry foul.
No, I completely agree with you.
But what makes me mad is a young man lost his life on the track. And it is really irresponsible. Even people are going to go, well, he was irresponsible. First of all, he was not stoned out of his mind when he was in the car. You found weed in his system. Weed stays in your system for a week or two.
But it said there was enough weed
to impair
his judgment, and it was in his system at the time of the accident.
Right. But
so it didn't have time to wear off.
What I'm getting at,
high at the time.
People want to cast stones, but I'm sitting here going, well, look at how many of us have done this. Go to I hate to say it, but go to Boone Super Nationals. I watched a guy sit in a car before he went on the track with an open can of beer. So, I mean, nobody knows what your impaired judgment, limits are. But when I see people on social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatnot, and all of a sudden when this report came out on Wednesday, all of a sudden there was all this anti-backlash against Kevin Ward. I'm like, wait a second, people. It's real easy for you to cast a stone, but forget a family lost their son.
Yeah.
And that is what is not acceptable in my book.
Yeah.
It's in distaste. So he had weed in his system. Great. You know what? I've actually gone to a bar, had beer, and drove home. I know you have.
We've made that mistake. I've made that mistake.
So who are we to sit there and come out and go, let's just let it die. My prayers and thoughts are...
Bad choice of words, but okay.
But,
Yes. Inevitably, in the end of it, even before I'd heard this report, when it was all signs were pointing towards they're not going to charge Tony with anything because, frankly, you can look at all the evidence out there. You could talk to anybody who thinks they know anything. There is one person in this world that knows what happened that night.
Him.
And there is Tony. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing that you can show me that is available that would prove that Tony intentionally swerved at him. So it was going to get thrown out. I think it was going to get thrown out from what a lot of people were telling me when we talked to Craig Kelly last weekend about that. And there's just not, without a shadow of a doubt, that Tony did it intentionally, that you could prove that Tony did it intentionally. I think he was going to not be charged with anything regardless. And then I was absolutely shocked when he the district attorney said there was drugs in Kevin's system, and then my second emotion was, God, now we got to go through this all over again because it's going to be all over ESPN that the kid was on marijuana, and it's going to be all over everywhere. And now we're going to call for drug testing in dirt racing, and now we're going to do. And I'm just like, can we just be done with it? There is nothing more that Tony Stewart wants than to be done with it. There's nothing more than the Ward family wants than to just be done with it and to just walk away and say, there's somebody that is now dead. Can we just leave it alone? Can we just walk away and just say,
I agree with you.
Lesson learned. Let's walk away.
I agree with you. But in my opinion, the one bright thing that can come out of this whole ordeal, ironically, is maybe this does open up the doors where both sides, the drivers and the sanctioning bodies can come together and say, hey, look, what can we do to provide a safer racing environment? Mm-hmm. What can we do to make sure that we don't have anybody under the influence of drugs or alcohol on the track? I think that is something that really needs to be considered and looked at.
There's really only one thing you can do, because I'd heard a bunch of conversation with all the sources about ESPN and NASCAR Race Hub and Fox Sports and Satellite Sirius Radio and all that, and it's pretty much a consensus. There is no way that you can drug test all the drivers on Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights to see if they're under the influence of anything, because if you're under the influence of marijuana, it is incredibly difficult to prove it without a blood test. It's incredibly difficult. And tracks can't. Who's going to pay for that drug test? Am I going to, as a promoter, going to say to you, buddy, I think you're under the influence, so you have to go pay to get it tested? And I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know how long those tests take. As far as I know, it's 24 hours.
I don't think you'd have to drug test all the drivers, but you could do like one or two a night, just a random, just a random deal.
Well, and that's what NASCAR does. It's random drug testing unless they have suspicion, which that's how AJ Allmendinger got caught. Was that
you'll never eradicate all of it?
It was just that's
but random stuff.
The only way you're going to do anything about it is if drivers take the responsibility and say, I think that guy's under the influence of something. We got to go and tell somebody and stop it before it happens. But I think that's the only way we can go. The only way we can go. All right. Any last thoughts on the Ward Stewart investigation? This is going to, and I said I wish we could just walk away and be done with it, but we're not going to be able to. This is going to be dragged on for a long time. All right, let's move on past this. Let's get to results from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Man alive, what a race. I watched the first half of that race, and I thought, oh, man, we're in front of the Richmond. This is going to be a snoozer. And then all of a sudden, the flagman decided we needed some cautions, and they were plentiful. I think there was 12. One
Good
in the
God, it's like
first
watching a sport mod feature.
Oh, no kidding. There was one caution in the first 100 and some odd laps. The other 11 came in the last half of the race. So that just goes to show you. And then it was really interesting to watch. It was just like everybody who was involved in the chase just started dropping like flies. Kyle Busch spun. Eric Almirola spun. Jeff Gordon hit the wall. Jimmy Johnson, not a bad day, not a great day. Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Ryan New. Everybody was involved at some point in time. And every one of those guys was so happy that there was that many cautions because it allowed them to get back on the lead lap because of the lucky dog. Here is your results from Loudon, New Hampshire. Joey Logano punches his ticket to chase to the contender round. He will move on. The young rookie, Kyle Larson, comes home runner-up. Kevin Harvick, third. Jamie McMurray, fourth. Jimmy Johnson rounds out the top five. Eric Almirola, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Dale Jr., and Brian Vickers all round out your top 10. Let's see, Kevin Harvick led the most laps, so he received a bonus point for that. But Joey Logano and that Penske team, they've been strong, they've been contenders, and all year long you're hearing about it's Hendrick and it's Penske. But to be honest with you, I think Hendrick's starting to take second fiddle to Penske. They are on key every single race, and if it's not Brad, it's Joey you got to worry about.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, where'd Penske come from? Not that they've been bad or faltering, but they are red hot.
They're operating at a level that we're used to seeing Jimmy Johnson operate at, and they are. I would
totally agree with that.
They're making the right calls on pit road. They're making the right chassis setups. They're rolling these cars off the hauler the fastest anybody ever is. They're tops in the all practices, in qualifying. I mean, they are the new 48 team, and which one do you want to pick this weekend? You want to be the 2 or the 22?
If you had to speculate, what do you think the change could be?
I just think they've got the right people in line. Right now, the way the rules are set up in 2014, it's an engineer's game. And that's what the rules for 2015 are trying to get back away from, is putting it back in the driver's hands. But I think Penske spent money on engineers, and they made sure to get the right research and development. They have great engines. They're doing top-notch everything. It's not just one thing, it's everything. They're doing everything right, and they're beating Hendrick at their game, and I think that's the big story.
But we got a lot of racing to go with, and Hendrick could still bounce back. I would
absolutely.
I would not count Jimmy Johnson or Hendrick out by any stretch of the imagination.
I would, however, as I do a little stretch there, trying to get my bearings right. The big story, and this is what NASCAR was hoping for as your storyline week to week, as we walk into Dover today and we begin to talk about who's going to be eliminated after Dover today. There are 9 drivers that can be eliminated if they hiccup for one lap and they miss something. Carl Edwards, 8 points ahead of 12th place. That's 8 spots, ladies and gentlemen, that if he has a bad day, he's starting to plummet in the points. Matt Kenseth, 8 points ahead of 12th place. AJ Allmendinger, 7 points ahead. Casey Kane, 6. Ryan Newman, 6 points ahead. That's the cutoff. Denny Hamlin is now 6 points behind 12th place. Greg Biffle is 6. Kurt Busch is 8. Eric Almirola is 12 points out of 12th place. How about that story right there? Eric Almirola blew an engine last weekend at Chicagoland, and I talked about it all last weekend about how Dale Jr. Remember Dale Jr. blew that tire last year at Chicagoland, and he was never able to catch up. Well, because of the issues at New Hampshire, because of the new format, because of the new setup, Eric Almirola, who finished 41st last week at Chicagoland, is now back in contention to win to move on via points. And my boy AJ Allmendinger, who I said it. I thought maybe he had a chance of moving on.
We were actually talking about that.
I sure as heck didn't put him down in my pick contest, though. But the boy's 7 points to the good, and he's a good short track racer. He has a legitimate shot at knocking out Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, and Kurt Busch. Now, take Denny Hamlin out, or Greg Biffle out of there. Who'd have thought Denny Hamlin and Kurt Busch wouldn't move on?
Well, who'd have thought Dinger would have moved on?
And who'd have thought Dinger would have moved on?
That's the Cinderella story right there.
Absolutely.
I mean, that might be the biggest story in the whole chase right there.
Exactly.
Is Dinger.
And that's That's what this is all about. NASCAR is trying to get the buzz of the Cinderella story from the NCAA March Madness, because there's always those one or two Cinderella teams that move on to a couple of rounds into the tournament, then they get knocked out and it goes back to your regular teams.
Do you think these teams are doing practice pit stops and all that good stuff?
The pressure on these 9 drivers, the pressure on these guys, because you have a hung lug nut. You have Denny Hamlin had issues with the fueling. You have that pop up. You throw a belt. You mess up on your line just once. You miscalculate the distance, and you're done. I mean, there's no coming back and recovering next weekend.
You're talking about the pressure right now. Look, we got 2 more rounds to go yet, Jack. I
can't
the pressure is going to get more and more.
Get it? I can't take it. Let's get it over with already. Let's crown a champion. My hair's turning gray.
You're talking. Imagine you're Denny Hamlin or any one of these drivers right now in this spot, and you're getting ready to figure out if you're going to move on after today's race. But hey, oh my God, we have another round.
And I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. I'm so over what's going on with everything that is possible. You can't take, and so every single lap is going to be insane. How about Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski racing for the win, rubbing on each other, and almost giving it away for both of them? That was a complete product of 2 of the more aggressive drivers we have in this sport today, of Brad Keselowski being locked in. So I think Joey thought, I can rub on him, get him loose, and get him up into the rough stuff and go by and take the lead, because he can wreck all he wants to. He's in the next round. I'm not guaranteed in the next round. Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon even said about the 42, I'm going to move him next time I get up there, because he's in the way of me getting closer to the win. This is exactly what we were wanting.
You're going to see at the Cup level, you're going to see that dirt track mentality all of a sudden rear its head. And it's going to be exciting.
Dirt track, the best thing dirt track has going for it is the fact that there's very few laps to get to the front. And so that chrome horn comes in really useful.
Hey, it's just like Josh Moe said here not too long ago. I mean, we only have 20 laps, so you can't wait to make your move on the last 4 laps. You got to make your move right now.
Man, so much to get to, so little time to do it. We'll be back in turn number 2. Stan Cisar is going to join us to talk the Midwest Fall Brawl results from, and we'll preview the the Cornhusker Classic. Nebraska 360s will be at I-80 Speedway. They'll be there October 11th on Saturday. So we'll be back with Stan Cisar to get you ready for that. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low edition engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shale Blade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 2 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Kaziski Auto Parts, online at kaziski.com. Quality used parts at an affordable price. Get to Kaziski Auto Parts today, 51st and I Street, and get back on the road at an affordable price. Joined in studio now by the man who made the call last weekend at I-80 Speedway for the Midwest Fall Brawl, the voice of the ASCS Midwest, and, voice of a lot of different things. Stan Cisar, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, I tell you what, what's not to like about last weekend's action?
Oh, man, it was That was exciting, and I got to tell you that we got a lot of clips here I want to play that we'll go through the day. I missed the first caution; it was on lap number 1. We'll pick it up at the second caution, and here it is.
Jason Johnson still running in second. Wayne Johnson in third. Jared
Thomas!
Look out! Contact on the front straightaway between Kennedy and Loyette. Loyette takes it around. Kennedy now goes around. Caution lights blink on. Wow!
Thomas Kennedy and Brad Loyette getting together, flattens the right rear tire on Kennedy, carries it down into turn number 1, does the 360, but Brad Loyette, one lucky individual.
So that was caution number 2 that brought out, I believe that was brought out a red flag.
And that racing was pretty much the measure of the weekend. Guys banging wheels, slide jobbing, cutting, slicing, dicing. I mean, everybody was up on top of the steering wheel probably as far as they could. And Brad Loyette, very lucky in that incident. That car did probably 2 360s down the front stretch, and they made contact wheel to wheel. Most of the time you'll see both cars going end over in a situation like that. Unfortunately for Brad, who was the points leader going in on the national tour, that did knock him from contention. They weren't able to make repairs in time. And one thing you failed to mention also, we shared the call on that. Of course, Brian Hulbert, the voice of the national tour, in the house, and Brian does a great job. And I try to keep up with him as far as how fast he goes, but I think I got about a lap down, about 2/3 of the way through the race.
You did a great job. We got back to green, and then here was caution number 2.
As working up into the top 5, the 21 of Brian Brown, and he's looking for 4th to the front straightaway.
Good battle, Brian Brown. Throws a slider on Tony Bruce. Bruce up and over in turn 2.
So Bruce damaged in that accident.
And that was a very scary accident. Whenever a car will hit the edge of a concrete retaining wall like that, cage first, and it was a pretty scary deal because you could see the sparks flying. Tony Bruce's car coming in contact with the concrete, and that's always something you hate to see. But luckily, the cage did its job, and Tony walked away. And
then probably the scariest accident brought out our longest red flag, involved Brian Brown. Here's the call on that.
Dusty Zomer starting to close on slower traffic. Jason Johnson holding off Wayne Johnson. Brian Brown is closing in now. Sam Hayford Team Juniors. Look out, Brian Brown into the wall. Red flag as Brian Brown is upside down.
A lot of damage on that 21 machine. Took him out of the race.
Well, they talked about that just a little bit after the race, in some of the interviews. I think everybody just checked up in that corner a little bit. Wayne Johnson and Jason Johnson in that battle for the second spot. Brian Brown closing so fast and checked up, kind of went to the right just a little bit, and there was a really heavy, clumpy cushion up on the top of the speedway. And as I said, everybody up on the wheel all night long for both nights of the Fall Brawl this weekend. And, as you heard in the previous clip, Brian Brown threw the slider on Tony. Tony got the worst end of it. This time it was something that happened in front of Brian, and he got the worst end of it. But something that could have had a major outcome major effect on the outcome of that race, because Brown had come from 18th to a battle for second.
And correct me if I'm wrong, did Brian Brown get his car fixed after that, or was he done for the night?
I believe he was done for the night.
Okay, I thought so, but I was thinking I was hearing in this final clip that he was coming, but here is the final call.
Wayne Johnson looking for the largest payday in Nebraska racing history. $55,000 on the line. Johnson cruising turns 3 and 4. Swindell racing him hard to the white flag.
White flag flies. Wayne Johnson a lap away from history into turns 1 and 2. He is on the cushion. Zomer is closing. Lasowski in third down the back straightaway. He'll work by the 94. Ladies and gentlemen, on the cushion. He's got it. Wayne Johnson, the $50,000 winner.
Oh man, Wayne Johnson picks up the Durst Motorplex Hot Rod Paintless Dent Repair Double Down back-to-back $50,000 challenge.
I tell you,
were you guys excited?
I've never seen it in my life. Fans were jumping up and down. They were hugging each other. They were screaming. You guys had them going.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I was excited. Brian was probably one up to me a little bit in the excitement level, but Wayne Johnson's had kind of an up and down year. This guy, he's been a perennial. When he pulls through the pit gate, he's always the threat to win. He's had kind of an up and down season, not really a season up to his standards, to be sure. This guy, he does it all. He doesn't follow the total ASCS National Tour anymore. He has been a past national champion in years gone by, but it was kind of a feel good story because he's had a tough season, and he suffered some pretty serious injuries in a wreck a couple of years ago. Had a long recuperation period, some leg and knee injuries and stuff like that. And it was, if somebody was going to win the thing, it was pretty nice to see.
There wasn't anybody sitting in their seats those last few laps. Because
everybody that was there was on their feet definitely for that last lap.
I had chills, but that was because of the 30-mile-an-hour breeze.
When Johnson took the lead with 6 to go, it was like the place erupted because everybody knew, hey, this could be it. It could happen 2 years in a row.
And that last red flag was key to him getting the win because it was an open red flag where the 2 previous red flags were closed, where teams couldn't come out and work on their cars. They couldn't do anything to them.
And the amazing thing was, I went down on the track, what they were doing. Brian was doing an interview and stuff like that, and heard some of the comments being made, and it was pretty amazing. One of Wayne Johnson's crew members said, "Isn't it amazing what 2 quarter turns on the bars would do?" And
made for a big difference for them.
It freed the car up, and man, the rest is pretty much history. And then the question that one has to ask now, and I heard a comment made by one of the sponsors. And I'm not going to repeat it because it's not official yet, but talking about one-upping it again, taking it one more level higher next year.
Here is the post-race interview, a little clip of it, of Wayne Johnson.
What can I say about these guys that work on this car? Charlie Fisher Power Plant, one bad mother. I can't say enough about Eric Slade with these shocks. Outlaw Wings. Man, I'm telling you what, This is really this is the most money I've ever won in a race in my life, and by God, the last year and a half I've struggled so much that this is going to help our program a bunch, and hopefully we can come back next year and be a lot stouter than we are right now because we're kind of a one-car team right now.
Wayne, it's not just the $50,000 bonus. $3,000 last night, plus the $5,000 just for winning the feature event. $58,000. Your highest paying night in racing is the highest paying night in the history of the American Sprint Car Series.
Well, I used to run this series full time, and we ventured off, thought we needed to go 410 racing, and we really don't have a budget for doing that. But Todd Carlisle, Mike Carlisle, the whole family, without those guys, I'm telling you, this team couldn't happen. I mean, they own just about everything on this thing other than the cars, and my poor butt owns the cars, and thank God we didn't wreck anything.
You can just hear how tired he was after that.
Oh, I'll tell you what, it was a workout. Once again, they had 2.5 inches of rain between Friday night and Saturday morning. My son lives about 3/4 of a mile from the track. He said it was still raining at 9:30 on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Those guys worked tirelessly all afternoon, and when we met at the pit gate before the pit tour, we were probably a little over an hour and a half late getting into the pit area because they had so much work to do just to be able to get the haulers down in there to be able to, it was a mud hole, I guess, for a better term.
The big story is obviously Wayne Johnson with winning that $50,000, but who's your big story besides Wayne Johnson?
Well, before we get to that, the actual final tally with lap money and everything, they paid $100 per lap. They paid 50, 30, 20 to the top 3 spots of each lap. I believe the final tally was $61,150 for the 2 nights is what he picked up. And then after the race was over, as per the insurance company and the rules, Wayne had to tear his engine down. He took one side of the injection off and had to remove a head. Brodix was supposed to have a representative. Brodix is the manufacturer of the heads for ASCS, and they were supposed to have a representative there. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it, so they set up a deal. They were going to next day air the head back. They were going to inspect it in one day and have it back to Wayne by Wednesday so he could get it back to the engine builder and get it reassembled because they got a big race coming up again this weekend down in Wheatland, Missouri. But, like I said, that's a pretty tough deal. They were still there. Matter of fact, the lights were out and they had to turn them back on because it got dark and they had to get that head off the engine and they boxed it up. And Matt and the ASCS National guys were going to send it to Rodex on Monday.
So who is your feel-good story outside of Wayne Johnson winning that big paycheck? Is there anybody else that you could say, wow, what a race, what a performance?
Feel-good story, Jack Dover, he struggled. He drew terrible all weekend, drew back of his heat races on a narrow racetrack that was hard. Everybody was fast, and he started 24th with a provisional and had raced his way all the way up to, I believe, was running 7th, and he was ahead of Clint Garner, who ended up running 5th. So who knows what might have been. They had a little problem with the front suspension, and Jack felt a vibration, and after the bad luck he's had, he kind of slowed down on the end. I tell you what, it was a great race, I think, for everybody involved. You got to give Danny Lazowski some credit. He charged from a B main on Friday night and got up tough in there and got all the way to second. And good run for Dusty Zomer. The Buffalo Wild Wings car, it's been the revolving driver's seat most of this year, and he's had some good runs in it. And the fastest lap time of the weekend, a blistering 14.78, went to Clint Garner in Saturday night's action. And it just a great event. It was talked about 47 cars from 8 different states and 3 countries.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the pre-race tour that you helped us out with. 3 different countries. What was it? Australia, United States, and Canada.
And Canada. The Kennedys were down from Canada. And, of course, Ian Matson had terrible luck all weekend. He's one of the Aussies. He resides over in Iowa during the summer months, but comes from Australia, and he's a tough competitor, too.
Midwest Fall Brawl, one of the races that actually lived up to its billing. We really hyped it that it was going to be a great race, and it turned out to be a fantastic race.
I'll tell you what, area race fans, this season with some of the events that took place, they were treated not only weekly racing. We talk about Eagles' great weekly show every week. The Super Nationals were great for the race savers with over 70 cars. The Silver Dollar Nationals, of course, has become one of the crown jewels on the National Late Model Tour, and now with the Fall Brawl being one of the premier sprint car races for the 360 division, area race fans really got to be spoiled.
Now we move our attention to next weekend, October 10th, 11th, and 12th. And I say next weekend, the Cornhusker Classic kicks off Thursday with open practice for all nights, Friday for non-sanctioned complete show with feature nights, and then Saturday night, the Nebraska 360s join the Super Late Model Series in a non-sanctioned full feature night. Getting ready for that night.
I'll tell you what, and that was a race that was rained out over Labor Day weekend, and with the success of the Fall Brawl, the 3,000 on the line to win, 325 to start. It's a tribute to a great champion, Bobby Parker. I had the pleasure to know Bobby when I was growing up. He and my dad were pretty good friends, and I know Dennis well, and used to see Bobby race. Bobby was the first ever point champion. The first 2 years of Sunset Speedway's existence, he was the point champion out there in 57 and 58. He was a great midget driver back in the early 50s and raced all throughout the Midwest and survived to tell about it, and just a great guy. I mean, we lost him a few years ago, and it's something that the racing community have come forth and donated some great money to be added to the purse, and it's going to be one of those events that I think will draw a good field of cars, and on a slightly smaller scale, I think the fans will be treated once again to some great 360 racing.
Absolutely. Stan Cisar, the voice out of Eagle Raceway for the weekly series. What are you doing on your Saturday nights now?
Hey, this Saturday, I have a honey-do list already. My wife is doing a quilt show in Des Moines, Iowa, and I will be doing the helping of the unloading and packing up on Saturday afternoon. But I got one weekend off. We go back to I-80 the following weekend for the Saturday night action, and then it's going to be a long winter, but not that long.
Stan Cisar, thanks for always joining us. We appreciate your help.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one. We'll be back in turn number 3 to talk to Anthony Ainslie of the SLMR Series. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Only one word describes NASCAR at Kansas Speedway. Fantastic. Parking's free. Coolers are welcome. Fantastic, you say? Then don't miss the chase for the Sprint Cup Hollywood Casino 400 October 5th. Tickets include more seats for $99 or less and kids tickets for just $29. How fantastic is that? Call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com today.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Heading into turn number 3 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Sprint Cup Hollywood Casino 400 on October 5th, just 1 week away, are on sale now. Visit kansasspeedway.com for more tickets and information. I just saw another ad on TV. A 14 by 14 by 14 soft-sided cooler. Take it in with you to the track. You can make sure and keep your beer cool. You can take a sandwich with you. Anything you can get inside of there that is not anything that security would flag, you could take it in with you. Who's doing that in the world of sports? No, they're giving you a full pat down and they're making you leave everything at the door. Not Kansas Speedway. They'll let you bring a soft-sided cooler in with you.
Oh, I can get in a lot of trouble with my soft-sided cooler.
KansasSpeedway.com for tickets and information. We will be there next weekend, and this time next weekend we'll be talking with the guy we're actually talking with now. We're talking with Anthony Ainslie of the SLMR series, the voice of the SLMR series. It's been a couple of weeks since we talked to you last. Anthony, how you been?
Oh, it's been crazy. Been trying to find some races around Nebraska ever since the tracks have been awarding their championships. You know, racing is starting to get a little bit more and more scarce. I tell you what, Dan, it was nice seeing you again over at I-80 Speedway last week.
That was a heck of a show they put on. Kyle Burke did a fantastic job finally regaining his mojo. But I'll let you talk about that a little bit. The SLMR series Saturday night at I-80 Speedway for the Midwest Fall Brawl. Talk about the recap a little bit.
I'll tell you what, it was a good night of racing for the SLMR series. 21 cars showed up. I tell you what, I-80 Speedway, they delivered once again for the super late model division. Early on, Al Zeitner, good to see Al back in the super late model division. Al led the opening lap, and then from there, Justin Gregg led for about 6 or 7 laps. Still, a little bit of deja vu came through when Travis Dickus pulled out in front for Al Humphrey Motorsports, and not far behind was Kyle Burke. Burke started back in the 6th spot. I tell you what, he didn't take much time battling Dickus for the race lead, and as they went into turn number 1, Burke dove underneath Dickus, and out of 2, the 14 came out in front on the other side.
It was really strange to see Kyle run the low side there. Typically, he's a bit of a high side runner at I-80.
I've seen him run the low side a couple of times, and it's led to a few good wins there at I-80 Speedway. But then once again, the 04, another missile chassis, Thad Pospisil, we've been seeing him in Burke's rear view almost the entire season. Pospisil tried the high lane, he tried the low lane, he tried the middle, but still the 04 could not get past the 14. Pospisil, he tried everything he could, like I said, but the Marquette Missile lived up to his name. And once again, Kyle Burke gets the 8-feature win in the SLMR division. I believe that's win number 9 on the year for the Marquette Missile. It's sort of gotten to where it's Kyle Burke's title to lose right now.
And I kind of wondered that. We're heading down to Lakeside Speedway as everyone gets prepped for a Friday-Saturday show. Will a visit to a new track that Kyle hasn't been to for a while, will that tip the favors maybe in someone else's hands, or the fact that Kyle's been there before, will that be in his favor? Who's going to have the advantage going into Lakeside Speedway, do you think?
I talked to Tad Pospisil and Kyle Burke down at I-80 Speedway. I talked to Tad during his track championship celebration that when we head down to Lakeside, Tad said he hasn't had a lot of experience. He's watched a few races there with Kyle Burke. Of course, he's raced there with the MLRA late model division, which is a super late model group which boasts a little bit more power than the SLMR series. But still, Kyle Burke, he's been around that track a time or two. I think these new guys, they're going to learn a few things. I've seen that Lakeside, it really becomes a driver's track. As the night wears on, the track really slicks off, becomes a driver's track. It should be interesting to see, and hopefully we'll see a few Kansas drivers. We might even see a few Missouri drivers down there.
With about exactly three races to go, you've got 2 down at Lakeside, and then you wrap up the season championship at I-80 for the Cornhusker Classic. A 50-point lead for the Marquette Missile. Is there any shot that Tad Pospisil can come back and steal the championship away, or does Kyle just basically get to ride away in the sunset?
Kyle can finish out the season strong. I'm sure he's going to take home his 3rd SLMR Series championship. Tad Pospisil, I think right now, in terms of the title, it's definitely a must-win situation for the 04. There would have to be a miracle for the 04 to try to get back up there. But Pospisil, he's been very consistent this year. Top 5 finishes almost every week, including second place at I-80 Speedway. I know it'd be nice for the 04 out of Norfolk to finally get that first win of the season. I honestly expected that Tad would actually have about 2 or 3 wins by this time of the year, but right now he's chasing that 14. It'd be nice to see Pospisil get a win. I'm not sure if he can catch him for the title, but still, it'd be nice for Pospisil to end on a high note with a couple of wins.
And you can catch the SLMR Series as it heads south to Lakeside Speedway for the very first time. Joe Koziski able to lock that up, and I heard you guys got a sponsor for that show, courtesy of my hometown.
Agrivision out of Red Oak, Iowa, coming along and helping us with the SLMR Series. Agrivision is allowing some coupons given out to all the SLMR drivers who are going to head down for 1 to 2 nights down there at Lakeside, about up to $200 off 6 different kinds of Honda generators. I know the drivers are going to be psyched for that.
Absolutely, bud. You can talk about that, getting some money off of a Honda generator. That's big news for a driver.
Oh, that's helpful. I mean, those generators, I mean, if it wasn't for our generators in our pits, I mean, a lot of us racers, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like a godsend. The one thing I do want to ask you, Anthony, is going down there to Lakeside, you've seen a lot of the SLMR from whether it be I-80, Denison, Albion, York, wherever you're at. Do you think this is a game changer in the points battle? And do you think a lot of drivers are going to have to readjust some of their driving for a track that has never seen the SLMR Series?
They might have to. From what I've seen, yeah, it can get pretty dry, but usually around during the fall, around this time of the year, the moisture starts to work itself back into the racing surface over at Lakeside. That's what I've heard from drivers who have competed at that track or have seen races there. It should be pretty interesting. It could be a horsepower track. I doubt that it will, but it should be a little different. It's about the same size as I-80, maybe a little bit smaller. The bankings, they aren't as high as I-80 Speedways are. Should be an interesting show, and you're talking about a racetrack that has held, Lucas Oil MLRA, Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series shows. They've hosted the World of Outlaws, USMTS Modifieds. I think Lakeside Speedway is going to put together a good racetrack for these guys to race on. It should be a very good show and a good couple of days down there.
Anthony Ainslie, the voice of the Super Late Model Series that will head down to Lakeside Speedway for the very first time in its history this coming weekend for a Friday and Saturday show. Hope to see everyone down there. And Anthony, we'll be down there in the pits, and we'll come by and say hi and talk to you a little bit, and then we'll talk to you again on Sunday to get a recap from the race.
Hey, you bet. And chances are, hopefully I'll be able to be over at Kansas Speedway for the Sprint Cup race.
Awesome. We'll love to have you over there. Anthony Ainslie, appreciate your time. Have a good morning.
Hey, no problem. See ya.
And again, get your tickets for the NASCAR Chase for the Hollywood Casino 400 next weekend, October 5th. They're on sale now. Visit KansasSpeedway.com. We'll be back in turn number 4 to wrap it all up.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
This week's young gun on the front stretch is 10-year-old Harrison Hall out of Circleville, Ohio. Harrison started his racing career in karts and in 2013 decided to move to a sport mod. In his rookie year, at the age of 9, Harrison took home 2 feature wins at his home track of Jackson County Speedway. Despite his early success, Harrison didn't want to lock himself down at one track and hinder his growth. So in 2014, he moved around to several tracks. He's racked up 12 wins so far this season, along with 26 top 5s and 31 top 10 finishes. Harrison has found victory lane at Moeller Raceway, Brush Creek Motorsports Complex, 35 Speedway, and Jackson Speedway, all in his home state of Ohio. Make sure to follow Harrison Hall on Facebook or find him at harrisonhallracing.com and keep up with the driver of the 99 Sport Mod out of Circleville, Ohio. He's Harrison Hall, this week's young gun on the front stretch.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he is talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low edition engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shale Blade, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn number 4 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get to Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs today for all the green flag action for Dover, Delaware. Green flag waves at about, I believe it's 1 o'clock today, so get down to Quaker Steak and Lube and enjoy all of the action. On the phone with us now, a big announcement locally for Shelby County Speedway. A lot of rumors swirling around this track, and a big announcement came earlier this week as the High Banks Promotions Company has purchased all assets from the Shelby County Racers Association and will be running racing at Shelby County Speedway in 2015. And Brett Pugh is the man behind all of that, along with your partner Doug. So, Brett, thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Well, it's good to hear some good news coming out of that part of the area. A lot of negative stuff been coming out about Shelby County. And I say negative, I mean some, are they going to race? Are you not going to race? The Tiny Lund was canceled earlier this year as a result of lack of funding. So it's good to hear that Shelby County's moving in a positive direction again.
Yeah, I think we can build her back up to where it was and get the cars back that we've lost with some changes made.
Talk about some of the changes you guys have made. Well, I guess we should start with, what are you going to run next year? What are plans for getting sanctioning? Are you going to be sanctioned and so on?
Yeah, we're going to continue to be IMCA sanctioned in all classes, keep all the classes we now have. We want to add a new bomber class, which I know some people aren't too happy about, but I don't think it's going to add too much to the show as far as time-wise goes. But it gives a good rear-wheel drive starter class for those guys that want to race, move up to hobbies or a B-mod. Change-wise, we're gonna try to do some things. We don't have everything set in stone, but we'd like to maybe go to a transponder system if we could, update our scoring system.
You're getting a big thumbs up on the transponder side of the transponder change from my co-host here.
Yeah.
He's liking that.
I think that's a good idea. I know it's expensive, but I think in the long run, I think it would help out, speed up the show. I'd like to get the show over at a better time so people could stand around if they wanted to in the pits after the races and talk to the fans and stuff. There's some people that drive from 2.5 hours away that could definitely benefit from that. If they want to leave right away, they can get home early enough to not be home at 2 a.m, which kind of gets to be old. Now, we talked about some personnel changes. We don't have anything set in stone there, but basically most everyone that's at the track needs to reapply, and we need to reevaluate some of the people that are down there. There's been some favoritism and stuff shown that I don't like, and I think that shuts some people down. There's lots of complaints. I'm not going to bash anybody and say it's anybody's fault. I think the racing board that was there got kind of worn out and beat up, and they were doing it for the good of themselves. They weren't doing it for any money. They didn't take any money out of it ever.
Yeah.
That makes it a little tougher, too, when you hear the bad comments and stuff on Facebook, and people can be pretty brutal, and it isn't fair always because they put their heart and soul into that track and did a good job. And, people got mad and got upset. And I think we need to just have a clean slate, start over again. What I want to do is that's why I wanted to get the announcement out there. We want to talk to as many drivers as we can that have been in their last 5 or 6 years that have started racing somewhere else, and we want to bring them back in, talk to them, see what kind of changes we could make to bring them back. We can't make all the changes that everybody's going to suggest, but there's going to be some good ones.
As a driver that's raced there weekly in the past, and I raced up there at Crawford County Speedway.
You used to race at Harlan.
Yep, I used to race. Well, I used to imitate driving is what I used to do.
He wrecked pretty good at Harlan. I'm just kidding.
I kept Brett in business for 2 years.
He was an awesome wrecker. Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should give out trophies for the wreck of the night.
Man, I'd look like Jesse Sabe then.
Some of them.
You'd have just as many. You'd have more trophies than Jesse since he gives his away.
Yeah. So, can you go into detail who this new race director is going to be? Because I saw a name, but it didn't ring a bell with me.
He's the guy that helps me in the race trailer. Good friend of mine. He lives real close to us. He goes to all the races with us. He's been around racing for years. He's helped. He owned the motors and stuff for Brett Meyer when he raced. Doug Bartles, if you remember him.
Oh yeah.
He's been around racing for years. He's about my age, young guy. He knows racing real well, and I think he's interested in the teching part and running smooth races and making just common sense calls. But if we're consistent, I think that's the biggest thing we need to do.
You kind of started to get into it a little bit, that you're open to listening to driver suggestions as far as doing things a little bit differently. What's the best way people can contact you and say, hey, listen, I'd like to see this come to Shelby County, and maybe give a little input on how things are going to be run in 2015?
Well, I got my phone numbers out there. They can contact me at Finish Line Racing Products. That's the business I own. I'm in racing year-round. That's all I do. I've got the perfect job, and I talk to a lot of people and have lots of customers. So if they want to call me or text me or email, Facebook, I'm on Facebook every day. Not the quickest on the writing stuff up, but I'm more than likely to hear everything that's being said. I've had some good suggestions today. People have been really, really super good about giving me suggestions of what they think would be good, and some of them are good ideas, and some of them might not be attainable yet. But I've had some real good ideas.
What about pay and pit pass prices? Because I know that's been an issue with some folks.
Right, and I understand that. I've gone around to most of the tracks, and we're in line with everything else. We have to make money to begin with, because that's the problem that they ran into. We worked out a good deal with the fair board, that it's a progressive scale on what we bring in for cars. I mean, naturally, more cars mean we'll make more money or break even faster. I know just in my business, when the car counts were 120 car average, we did almost 3 times as much business as what we did this year.
Wow.
So the car count is just huge. We've got to have car count, and we've got to have people in the stands. And if you don't have car counts, you don't have people in the stands. It goes hand in hand. We also need to talk to the city and see if we can get some support from the town with the schools and the community organizers and what is it called, the board? What's
the Chambers of Commerce?
Chamber of Commerce, that's what I'm trying to say. The Chamber of Commerce, and they used to have parades. They used to have car shows at the opening of the season, and we don't have any of that stuff. And I don't know what the reasoning is. I haven't talked to them yet. I don't know if they dropped it or didn't do it, or I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities. You got the Sportsman's Club, you've got the cattle producers, the pork producers. Those people are willing to do stuff to promote the town, and why not wrap that into the racing, because that's a big part of Harlan. I mean, I don't think they realized what happened how it would affect them when they dropped the Tiny Lund this year.
No, that was a bombshell that hit the whole racing community.
Well, and so we need to revisit that and say, okay, if it's risky and they didn't make money at that, Doug and I can't go into this and not make money. I mean, I can't afford that. I'm not.
Yeah, you're not going to promise to do something that was losing money for 3 years,
right?
Even though
it's revisit it and find out how we can do it in a better way or at a different time, and lower our risk of not succeeding with it.
We're talking with Brett Pugh, the new promoter of Shelby County Speedway in Harlan, Iowa, of the High Banks Promotions. One last question for you, Brett. Any plans to work in conjunction with other tracks to help promote local dirt racing? Are you planning on maybe doing any kind of point series? It makes sense to me to try to run something with Crawford County, but maybe not. Maybe it makes sense to run it with something else. Any plans on running any kind of a point series with any tracks in the area?
Yeah, we have talked to them. We talked about doing some 2-day shows together. There's nothing set in stone. We've just talked about it. They're talking about putting the same bomber class in up there, which would get some people excited about a rear-wheel drive starter car for some of these older hobby stocks that are out there. And we know there's a bunch out there.
I could be competitive again.
There you go.
All right, Brett.
There you go.
We do appreciate you taking the time. Shelby County Speedway now under management by the High Banks Promotions Company, run by Brett Pugh and Doug Bartz. You can get a hold of Brett 712-662-3813. Brett, we do appreciate your time, and we want to talk to you more in the future as plans kind of get laid in for Shelby County Speedway.
You bet. Thank you. We're going to have an informational meeting probably around the Denton or Harlan area in the middle of November.
All right.
Then we'll have a lot more stuff set in stone then. So I appreciate the call, guys.
Fantastic. Have a good one. Thanks, Brett.
You betcha.
So once again, that was Brett Pugh, the man running the High Banks Promotions Company that has now taken over efforts at Shelby County Speedway in Harlan, Iowa. So good to see those guys up and running. All right. We get real quick. Go ahead, real quick.
I'm really excited to see this. A lot of people are going to say, well, there might be a conflict of interest with him having the parts trailer there in the promoter, but
I don't see that at all.
But I can see the negative Nellies out there saying that. I like this because he does kind of have a vested interest in the track with that parts trailer. He's going to want the car count. He's going to go out of his way to have the car count because it's going to make Finish Line more money.
Yeah.
Well, if it's making Finish Line more money and the car counts are coming to Harlan, it's going to make that track, it's
desirable.
Going to see
Yeah. See, I don't see that as a conflict. I see that as a big benefit.
Well, I know.
But I know what you're saying. The negative Nancy's they're gonna find something to complain about. But anyways, all right. Race for today: the green flag action at Dover, Delaware. Man, I am so pumped after last weekend's race. I'm so excited for this. Dover green flag at 1:00 on ESPN and MRN. 4 drivers are going to get knocked out of chase contention today. We talked about it in turn 1. There's so many drivers that are on the bubble. 9 drivers. They blow a tire. They have a bad pit stop.
I was thinking bad pit stop. Yeah.
Any mechanical issues that pop up that are just those weird things that happen because, somebody didn't tighten that bolt to the right tension. That's all it could come down to today, Dover, Delaware. All the green flag action on the big screens at Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs. Make sure and listen to us next weekend because maybe we're back in Kansas City. We got a big show lined up for you. Anthony will join us one more time next weekend to recap the action from Lakeside Speedway. We're getting interviews with Michael Annette. We're getting interviews with Goodyear. We're efforting interviews with all the Cup drivers to see who will give us time to sit down and talk to us. We'll be live at Kansas Speedway at the Quaker Steak and Lube RV in the infield. So if you happen to be in the infield,
come see us.
We're going to be over by turn number 4. We'd love to have you come on. Maybe we can get you on the air, and as long as you keep your P's and Q's, we'll let you talk to our listeners. All right, we'll do it again next weekend live from Kansas Speedway. This is The Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590 Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Only one word describes NASCAR at Kansas Speedway: fantastic. Parking's free. Coolers are welcome. Fantastic, you say? Then don't miss the chase for the Sprint Cup Hollywood Casino 400 October 5th. Tickets include more seats for $99 or less and kids tickets for just $29. How fantastic is that? Call 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com today.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.